Hey, welcome everyone. So excited for this call. This is all about email marketing for your young living business. This is one of my favorite topics. And, a part of me is like, man, I feel like I should have really delved into teaching this a lot sooner, but I struggled with how to teach this from a perspective where, if you know my background, Tracy Black, I have been a blogger for the last 10 plus years. And so a lot of times people would ask me, how do I do email marketing? Do I need to have a blog? And I'm like, no, don't do that. Because developing a blog takes a lot of time. You have to put in a lot of effort. You have to do search engine marketing. I mean, it's like a whole other job in addition to a young living business. And so I struggled with how to teach this in a way that would make sense for, any young living business builder. And so we're at a point where I really feel like this could be beneficial for literally anyone, including anyone who is just getting started with the business. So we're going to delve into this. This is all about email marketing for your young living business. So here's what we're going to cover today. Okay. Email stats, how to get started. And I'm going to have like a quick how-to guide of what you need to do in order to get started with email marketing, best practices. We're going to go over images and HTML a little bit. We're going to talk subject lines, how to measure and track, and some of my favorite resources. So again, save your questions to the end. I should have some time to answer them. This is really sort of geared towards how to use email marketing, in particular for prospects. I think many of you have already used email marketing for your team, right? Maybe you use the virtual office email system, or maybe you use an outside email system and you're sending, messages about, a sale or what's coming up in the month, or maybe they missed their loyalty rewards order. Okay. So I feel like that could be a whole second call. This presentation is really geared towards how to use email marketing for your prospects. Okay. So email stats. So this is something that I feel like, email is like not the sexiest of all the platforms to use. I think we feel like, oh gosh, email's been around forever. It's so boring. But let me just tell you, it is one of the best converting, most reliable, and cheapest marketing tools out there. For $1 spent on an email, it'll generate roughly about $40 in sales. And here are some other cool stats, okay? Email marketing is 40 times more effective in obtaining new customers in social media. Like what? Like, isn't that kind of amazing to sort of see that? And we're going to delve into a little bit later. This is not an either or, okay? We're not saying ditch social media and only do email. It's going to be an and we'll talk about how to do that in a little bit. But I want you to look at these stats, okay? If you look at the stats on the left, you'll see here email versus social media. Total users, 3.8 billion people have email. 3.4 billion have social media, right? So that's 400 more million people with email versus social media. So just kind of take that into consideration that everybody's got email. In addition, email conversion rates are typically about 3 times higher than social media. There can be upwards of 6 times higher than organic social media when it comes to click-through rates. Your message is 5 times more likely to be viewed on email versus Facebook. How many of us have been so frustrated with Facebook and like Facebook not showing our content, or Instagram not showing our content, right? Like you're always battling the algorithms. Your answer is email. Okay. The other thing is email subscribers are almost 4 times more likely to share your content than on social media. And this is the kicker right here. 99% of email subscribers check their email every day, as much as 20 times a day. I think that's me. I probably check my email 20 times a day. In fact, I've got a dual monitor, and up on my screen, I've got an email. Like my email is always open. There will be, I hate to say it, weeks for me where I may not post on social media, Facebook, Instagram. I check my email. I am definitely one of those people that checks it 20 times a day. Can you tell me in the comments, in the chat box, how many times do you check your email? My email is like my to-do box. So why email? Really, the most reductive, simplest thing I can tell you is ownership. You own your email list. So social media is so effective in growing a following, right? Like you can grow it out of nothing. You can use your connections, you can use keywords, you can use hashtags, right? To like find people, to connect with them, but you're building on rented space. What that means is like, You could lose your platform or your profile, your following, and your following if your account gets hacked. Maybe the platform changes their algorithm. Oh my gosh, this has happened to me a billion times with both Facebook and Instagram, where things just don't get shown anymore, right? Or sometimes the platform just decides, well, just because. I can tell you in the beginning when, and close to 8, 9 years ago when I started this Young Living business, people would see my Facebook messages. I could post to a Facebook page and everybody would see it. Now it's like, of the 36,000 followers I have on my Facebook page, I would say less than 1% actually see any of the posts that I put out there. Why? Because Facebook wants me to pay. They want me to pay to show my messages to my audience. Okay. That's not the case with email. In addition, social media platforms can peak after a number of years, right? Okay, I'm totally dating myself here, but think about this. In the last 15 years, we've seen MySpace, Friendster, Periscope, Google Plus, Clubhouse, Vine, Facebook pages, which is still around, but not nearly as effective as it was 10 years ago. What's going to happen to Instagram, TikTok? Like, we don't know, right? We're typically seeing sort of like a 5 to 10 year turnaround time where something new is going to be coming up. So when your following, right, is dependent on a platform, you have no control and you don't own that list. But with email, you own your list, even if you change email platforms. So I want you to think of this as like a funnel. Okay, so screenshot this. I'm happy to post this in the group as well. But I want you to look at this. So email's affected whether you're building in person, at vendor events, social media. Maybe you do have a blog or a website. Maybe you've got a brick and mortar store, right? Or you've partnered with like a chiropractor or somebody in your community where you can collect emails, right? You're collecting emails kind of at that top of that funnel, okay? And then as you kind of come in, right, you offer that email list, you offer them kind of an incentive to get on your email list. Once they're on your email list, they are yours, right? Those are your warm leads now that you can then use to send tips, how-to tutorials, classes, talk about sales, talk about products. There's so many things that you can do. And then at the bottom of that funnel, right, you can then convert that person who's on your list to then become a customer. Okay. So again, think of your email list as a funnel. You're kind of getting them to the next sort of phase down the funnel, warming them up to the products, to you, right, as a personality, and to your offering. Okay. So I really like to think of this as not an either or, okay? You don't need to choose between email or social media, email or vendor events, email or in-person classes. Do email and your other prospecting platforms. So email, again, can really help to nurture those prospects. Maybe they're not ready to buy, right, when they see your social media feed, or when they're at a vendor event, or maybe even at an in-person class. Maybe they're not ready to buy. They need to be nurtured a little bit longer. Get them on your email list, right? And they can kind of keep moving down that funnel to get them closer to becoming a customer or a brand partner. So how do you get started with email? So you need to choose an email platform. Okay, so you can't do Gmail, Yahoo, or like a free email platform like that, like you would normally send your personal emails. Okay, I know some of you are doing this, and maybe for a small list, I probably wouldn't worry too much about this. Like if you've got like 20 people, I probably wouldn't be too concerned, especially if you're doing kind of one-on-one. But once you want to do things at scale, and I'll talk about some things that you can do in just a minute with that, you'll definitely want to have an email system, a platform. The other thing when you're using like a Gmail or a Yahoo, Hotmail, is deliverability is likely going to be lower if you're doing it like blank carbon copy, right, to 30 different people or 50 different people. You could even run into canned spam laws. These are laws within the US. Other countries have similar laws like this, that, it will diminish the number of people who will get your emails or even block you completely, because you're not offering an opt-out option. Okay, so there are lots of different email platforms out there. I have done lots of research. I've tried many of them. At the end of the day, you choose what's going to work for you. I'll have some recommendations that I'll talk about in a second. But you want to make sure there's two things: ease of use and high deliverability. Okay. I will tell you, something that looks pretty, but does it get delivered? And are people actually engaging and converting on it? That's the big thing, right? Like, I like things that are pretty as much as the next person. I'm telling you, it all comes down to conversion and deliverability. Nothing else matters. So more on that in just a second. My recommendation is ConvertKit. I've been with them for a very long time. I use them for my blog subscribers. I absolutely love them. They have a lot of bells and whistles. You don't have to use all of them, but one of the reasons why I like them is it's just very easy, like out of the box, you can get started like creating emails. They also have landing pages. So this is why I love these email platforms. You don't even have to have a website, right? So you want to be able to capture, right, those emails with something, right? Usually a form, an online form, or a landing page. So the landing page is like your form. Like, you can actually have your own little URL that you get from ConvertKit or even Flowdesk, right? And even Canva, you can create a landing page even on Canva, you guys. But you have that URL, you can then take that, put it in a business card, put it on a sign-up sheet when you're at an in-person class. Heck, you could even do a QR code, right? Someone comes by your vendor event booth table, scan the QR code, get on the email list. Okay, so I like that ConvertKit offers all of those things kind of out of the box. The other thing is that they offer, you know, things called automation, which I'll explain in just on the next page. So stay tuned on that. But they also do A/B testing on subject lines. And this was a big question that you guys had, was what are some really well converting subject lines, which we'll talk about in a bit. You can A/B test them with ConvertKit. I also find, and I've done lots of research on this, that they've got one of the highest deliverability in terms of emails in the industry. So their deliverability is 99.8%, which I think is amazing. So Flowdesk is another one. I know many of you use Flowdesk and you like the design because it's sort of drag and drop. I've tested and used it myself. I do find it very graphic heavy, which is not necessarily going to mean good conversions for you. So more on that in just a bit. There's also MailChimp. Okay, so I know many of you have used MailChimp. I personally do not recommend MailChimp. So here's what it is. Because so many businesses, not just you, not just other network marketers, but like every like mom and pop, right? Business, dry cleaners, whatever. So many people use MailChimp. You're going to be sharing those IP addresses with other businesses. And so because there's sort of like such a wide, you know, a wide range of people that you're sharing it with, what this is going to lead to is a higher spam rate and lower deliverability. So because of the deliverability issues, I personally don't recommend them. But definitely do your homework and do some testing, okay? So after you choose your email platform, you're going to create what this is number 2, you're going to create a landing page. So your landing page is going to be like your spot to collect the emails. A landing page and a form are the same thing. Often a form is going to be inserted into like a web page of some sort. So maybe you had, you know, a business website, right? You can insert that form right into your business website, but essentially they do the same thing, okay? They're capturing those email addresses. What I would recommend is keeping it extremely simple. Don't overstate, you know, too many things. Don't ask for too many things. Let me just tell you, I remember back in the day, like, you know, 10 years ago, I actually used to do email marketing, by the way, in my former job. I used to be a digital marketing manager. So we did email, search engine marketing, search engine optimization. So you guys, email marketing is in my background even before Young Living. But I remember back in the day, we used to like ask for all of these things: your first name, your last name, your email, your phone number, your web address. Everything that you ask for from someone on a page or like on a landing page, you can just go ahead and just take away, you know, tens of, you know, hundreds of people who are never going to sign up for your form. Like, keep it short and simple. The fewer things you ask for in terms of like, you know, name, email address, that's it. Never ask for anything more than that. If you ask for more on a landing page, the less likely someone is going to submit it. It's just one of those things when it comes to web usability. You could even create different landing pages for different audiences. You may not need to do this. I personally do it because, for instance, on my blog, I'll have Instant Pot recipes, and then, DIY beauty, right? They're two totally different audiences. And so I actually do serve up a different landing page for them. But for your purposes, you might not need to. What I would recommend from the get-go is just have the one. And if you feel like you need to have one later, you can always do that, but maybe just do the one to get started. Some things to think about with your landing page or form. And this is a great example, okay? So this is a landing page. Do you see how it doesn't ask for anything? When you click join, what it's gonna ask for is name and email, that's it. Keep it very simple. Use the targeted keywords that your audience is going to be looking for and will expect. I love to use contrasting colors as well. Make your call to action really prominent. You could even A/B test your landing pages, like create something, see how it goes. And then after a while, maybe you're testing the headline, an image, the copy, something like that. And then you can, once someone says yes, redirect them to some kind of a thank you page where maybe they can get more resources. If you're like, for instance, on social media, maybe you're using Campsite. I can't recall what the other bio links, I think is another one, right? Or I can't remember what the different link tree, that's what I'm thinking about. You could create like a link tree for like your thank you, like be sure to follow me on social media, check out my YouTube videos. I'm just making this up, right? Check out my website, you could give them some other information. Don't use too many images and text. Do not have multiple calls to action. The more calls to action, the less likely someone's going to fill it out. Avoid like submit, right? Those are like such submit. It was like an old joke in my job. We're like, we don't want to submit to anybody. We want to use those action words, right? Grab your ebook, join our class. Those action keywords is really, it's going to get people to click the button. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to create a lead magnet. So a lead magnet is sometimes called a content upgrade. Basically, it's some kind of an incentive for joining your email list. And you guys, it's so easy to create something like this. Again, Canva is really going to be your best friend. You could probably even leverage resources from our groups or from Young Living, right? Like they've got all different kinds of like, for instance, the Clean Home guidebook, right? Go to the Young Living library online. They've got all kinds of beautiful books that you could probably use or borrow content from. But a lead magnet is that incentive, right? If someone's walking by your booth at a vendor event, why would they want to sign up for your email list, right? Think about them. What would they want? Or if you're at a class, right? Maybe you're teaching in social media, or sharing on social media, why would someone want to join your email list? Think about like, what is the problem that they have and how will your lead magnet help to solve that problem? This does not need to be like a 100-page book. I would never recommend doing anything like that. I would keep it really short and sweet. So you'll see a couple of examples here, right? A cheat sheet, right? Like just a very simple cheat sheet. Or maybe you do like a little ebook. What I currently have is like 10 DIY recipes. Again, borrow DIY recipes from the Young Living blog, right? But put in your own little Canva ebook. 10 quick recipes for whatever your niche wants. Maybe it's non-toxic cleaning. Maybe it's beauty. Maybe it's for baby and kids, right? You can go ahead and create that with Canva, put in a cute little graphic, boom, there you go. Don't spend a ton of time on this, okay? This does not need to be like 50 pages. I'm thinking tops, like maybe 10 to 12 pages. If you've got like a recipe per page, it could be one simple page, like a cheat sheet or a planner, okay? But something that's really easy, but that's your incentive for people to get it. As you're designing like your landing page, keep it real simple. So this is an actual landing page that I have, 10 beauty hacks from your kitchen. So you get a free email course and an ebook. So you notice I state the benefit right there of what they're going to get. Get your ebook now. And then I tell them what they're going to get in the email course. Boom, 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 boom. Not too much information, super simple. When it comes to button colors, a few things to kind of keep in mind. I like to keep my colors when you're designing things, especially like buttons. Think of like McDonald's, Burger King. You guys probably don't have In-N-Out because that's a Southern California thing. Think about like fast food. What are their colors? red, orange, yellow. Why? Because those are the colors that incite people to take action, right? It's very attention grabbing, okay? So those are some great colors to use. Even think of Amazon, right? They're using red, yellow. The blue is usually the secondary button, right? It's the more muted button. So I would probably avoid using like a blue. I would use like a very action colored color, right? Yellow, blue, yellow, red, and orange. So we've created our lead magnet, right? We've created our form, okay? We've got our email system. The next thing you're going to do is create a welcome letter, okay? Because you're just kind of like creating these things in succession, right? So if someone signs up, right, wants to get on your email list, you want to immediately have them get a welcome letter, and your email platform that you're using will do this all automatically. So there's a little bit of like time that you're going to take to get things set up. But once it's set up, it runs on automation. Okay. I set this stuff up with my email list years ago. I do minor tweaks here and there, and then that's it. It just runs on autopilot, which is amazing. So this welcome letter, you want to keep very short and simple. Remind them why they're receiving it, maybe give them some background information, let them know about like the frequency of, what they're going to receive from you, the focus, the main topics. Ask a question. I cannot overstate this enough. Ask a question, like say something like, whatever the thing is, let's say it's DIY beauty, like tell me why you want to get started making your own DIY beauty products. Have you tried it before? Like ask them a question, because then they'll be more likely to respond and reply to you. And once they reply to you, just like text messages, once you get that back and forth going, right, you're nurturing them closer down that email funnel until they have that conversion. Some other things you can tell them is to add your email address on their safe sender list so you don't end up in spam. You could, highlight some popular content. Maybe it's social media. Maybe it's a video that you've done, but you can point them to other places that they can find you, or other content that you've created. You could even encourage them. I do this, to invite a friend. Like if you know someone who would benefit from this, right, come and have them join too. Okay, next up, the next thing I recommend that you do is create some kind of a drip campaign. So your welcome email can be part of the drip campaign, but why do this? Okay, so again, it's a little bit of time to sort of like create this in the beginning, but once it's done, it's going to be an autopilot. Why do the drip campaign? Think about it. You've got this warm lead, right? Or you've got a cold lead who's now going to become a warm lead. Let's get them warmer. Let's like really whet their appetite and show them, right, like what else you can offer them. So I'll go back to my example for the DIY beauty book, right? Get my free email course and this beauty book. So for me, what they get is a 7-day campaign. Every single day, they're getting a different email message from me. And I'll show you what they get in just a second. But it could be like, why essential oils, how to make your own, skincare products. Give them a couple of recipes outside of that lead magnet. Maybe you talk about why quality matters. I mean, all the things that we would normally teach in a class, right? That drip campaign could literally be like a mini class that you teach. Thieves Home, essential oils, baby and kids, anything, whatever your kind of niche audience really wants. I would not do anything more than 7 days. In fact, 3 to 5 days is kind of that sweet spot, to kind of, so that you're not, when you give too much content. I remember the first time I created a drip campaign, it was 14 days. I mean, the drop off like after day, like, I don't know, 10, it was like nobody was looking at it anymore. So really kind of keeping it nice and tight. 3 to 5 days is better. If you need to go to 7, you can, but make sure it's quality. Okay. I'll just give you an example. This is what's in my 7-day drip course. So it's got a 40% open rate and a 7.2% click-through rate, which is phenomenal. I'll talk to you about like industry standards and benchmarks in a bit, but that is phenomenal. So this is all in automation. So everybody who's going to my lead magnet, they're getting this mini course from me. This is like me teaching a class. And you'll see the topics here is the first one is like a welcome. Get your free email download. And the challenge is my question to them. Okay. Then after that, what are essential oils, how to use them, the biggest essential oil mistakes. I mean, think about how you're writing these titles, right? Like if you saw like, what is the biggest, I don't know, what is the biggest essential oil mistake? By the way, what I say in there is buying low quality oils like from Amazon. That's what I get into. But writing those headlines, right, from the perspective of like, what are the questions that people are going to be asking? And you can kind of see down the list. 101 ways to use it, how to get them at a discount, do you need some help? So just kind of going through that. And I want you to, this is like an actual email that I send out. Do you see a ton of graphics? No. Do you see like this beautiful HTML web style with like all of this fancy stuff going on? No, it's very, very simple. And I'll tell you why in just a minute, but I'm just saying the simpler, the better, because if your links are competing with this gorgeous style, it's hard for people to see. If your links are competing with lots of different graphics, people won't find it. When you look at this email, what pops out at you? The 3 links that are on the page, right? That's what pops out, and that's what you want. Okay, so once you get your lead magnet and your drip series started, you're going to want to promote it, right? So where do you promote your email? Put it in your social media, like your link tree, right? You could even, do a reel or stories and like post your link in there. Talk about the benefits of the lead magnet and the email newsletter. You can collect emails at in-person events, at vendor events. As you get this started, you could even just send it to friends and family and go, hey, I'm really trying to get the word out on this. And if you would like to join, I would love to have you do it. And, ask for referrals. If you know anybody who's interested in whatever you're offering, right? Like for me, DIY beauty, please send this out. Like, don't be afraid to ask for referrals. To be honest, I feel like it's easier to ask for a referral when I'm offering something in return like this, right? Versus like, just send someone my way. So I really like this. Or if you had a website or a blog or YouTube, right? You could do this as well. Okay, so once you've got all the automated pieces in, you're going to create your email newsletter. So wait till you get some subscribers to your email newsletter, and then you can start sending it out. So what I would highly recommend is sending it out weekly, and I'll show you in just a second. But if you are sending something monthly, I just want you to think about this. It's kind of like teaching classes. When you teach a class once a month or once every other month, what if someone doesn't make it? It could be like 3 or 4 months before they actually make it to a class. It's the same thing with email. If you're not sending it at least weekly, right? What if it ends up in their spam? What if they just don't see it? It ends up in their promo folder. They just got busy, right? You spent so much time setting this all up. Send out a weekly email, right? It could be so simple. It could be a tip, a tutorial, a recipe, a how-to, a product highlight, maybe a video you've done. It could be upcoming classes you're hosting or that our team is hosting. It could be, a sale, right? That's coming up. It could be anything. I would highly recommend repurposing content. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can take content from Life Steps. You can use content from our Facebook groups, even your own social media posts. I have seen your social media posts, your reels, your stories. They're phenomenal. You could be repurposing that in your email, because guess what? Not everybody's seeing your content on social media. Repurpose it on your email. And something that I like to remember is this. I don't know if you guys know Gary Vaynerchuk. I love him. He's a little spicy with his language on Instagram, but he's just a fantastic digital marketing guru. But he wrote this book called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And so just remember that, okay? Jab, jab, jab is sort of like benefit, benefit, benefit. Like just give information, give information, give information. The right hook is like my call to action. That's when I'm then going to promote the sale. You don't want every email to be like sale, 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 buy, buy, buy. You want it to just be like, here's a great tip. Here's a way that you can use this. Here's a video. And then after that, like, have you thought about, grabbing the starter kit? So just kind of think about that, okay? Here's another example from a blogger that I absolutely love, Mommy Potamus, but you can see, so she uses images here, not crazy HTML. It's, 3 really small thumbnail images, very plain text copy, but just tell me what pops out on this page. The links, the images don't pop out. It's the links, right? So some best practices, like I said earlier, send your emails weekly, and then make sure when you're choosing your email templates to use mobile optimized. So what that means is the email can be viewed on a mobile device effectively, like it's not going to break things up. 77% of people are reading their emails on mobile devices. Make sure you're sending it from a person, not a company. I write very colloquial, very like, this is what I'm doing this week. What would you, like, it's like I'm talking to a friend. And I want those of you who do use texting, like Project Broadcast, I want you to think about this. When you've done Project Broadcast and you've sent like a long message with all this fancy stuff, you often get less engagement than if you sent something that was like 2 sentences right through text, because they know that's a person. It's the same thing with email. The more that you write like you're writing to a friend, don't have crazy graphics, then the other person on the other side who's receiving the email, they feel like you're writing to them as an individual. They're more likely to engage. Make sure you know your audience's pain points, not their paint points. So like I have in the graph, their pain points, right? That's how you're kind of getting them in. Why do they want to get your lead magnet? Why do they want to be on your email list? Why do they want to get your email, right? Think about their pain points. Like I said, keep your copy short and sweet, keep it skimmable. You want the links to pop out the most, not the graphics. One way to increase engagement and click-through is to use personalization. So when you're using these email platforms, there will be a quick little snippet or a quick little snippet of code, and they'll have it available in the system itself where you can, pull in first name, kind of like you would do in a Project Broadcast. So you could do that in the subject line or in the actual introduction as well. Subject lines typically perform better when you're using personalization in it. You can use buttons for your call to action. Those typically have a higher click-through rate. Like I said earlier, ask for referrals. Make sure that your email platform will have an unsubscribe link at the bottom that's very easily visible. That's definitely to comply with CAN spam laws. You want to make it easy for people to unsubscribe. Make sure when you're sending out emails, Tuesdays or Wednesdays tend to be kind of the optimal time, around 10 to 11 a.m. in your ideal time zone, right? So for instance, for the United States, we've got a few different time zones. I personally send mine pretty early in the morning, Pacific Standard. I'm usually sending it at like 5 a.m., sometimes 4 a.m., just so that it hits the East Coast still in the morning. But that's typically what I'm doing. And then the other thing that I have in here is just test, right? These are all best practices, but your email list might be different. How your users are like responding to your emails, your subject lines, it could be different. So just keep testing. If something doesn't work, it doesn't mean like uniformly it doesn't work. Maybe it's like a little word. Maybe it's your subject line. Maybe it's just a little something. So just keep testing and seeing what works. And this is my plea to you. I know many of you are like, no, no, no. But here's what just hear me out, is at least test it, okay? I want you to at least test. Just making the case here for email, for plain text email, or as plain as you can get. Maybe you do 1 image or 2 images. I'm telling you, the plain text gets way more conversions than the emails that have the crazy HTML graphics in it. You guys, I know, I love graphic heavy. I think graphics are beautiful, but I'm telling you, they just don't convert as well, especially for what we're trying to do. If we had a fashion brand and we had like a new t-shirt that we were doing like every week, right? Of course, those are going to be more graphic heavy, right? Because they're so visual. But what are you selling? You're selling the stories, the testimonials, the uses, right? For these oils, for Young Living products, right? What the bottle looks like is totally irrelevant. You're selling what's in those bottles, right? You're selling your testimonials, right? You can do that through plain text. So just telling you, do the test yourself, but I'm telling you, they do convert a lot better. There's been a ton of testing on this to show that. I will tell you, so Wellness Mama, this is her actual email, okay? She has 1.2 million monthly website visitors. She sends 2 emails a week that are just like this. Plain text. There's never any images. It's just like a little introduction. But when you look at this, what do you feel like? It seems like she's like directly writing it to you, right? It doesn't feel like it's from this big company. It doesn't feel like, like her assistant wrote it. It's like it feels like she wrote it and she cares about me and she's sending this out and she's giving me some tips on, her blog posts and to check out her latest podcast, right? So just kind of keep this in mind and just remember, what do you want to come through first, right? The graphic for me is irrelevant. The image is irrelevant. It's the content and the links. You want people to click through, okay? One other thing to keep in mind is a lot of imagery can also slow down your email. It could mark your email spam, put you in the junk folder. So just kind of putting it out there. And if you do use images, make sure you're using alt tags on them. You'll have the option to do that in the email platform that you use, but I just want you to look at this. So this is the original email on the left. And then on the right, you'll see the images are disabled. Do you know most email platforms, like when I get emails from companies, I already have a setting where it says turn off images. So I get something similar to what's on the right here. I don't even see the image. So what if all the content is in the image or in the graphic? I don't even see it. So if you must use an image, make sure you're using alt tags. Like I said, limit the use of them because that will reduce the load time and improve the deliverability. It also keeps you from ending up in the dreaded promotions tab on Gmail. Gmail is the largest segment of email users. So you want to stay out of that promotions tab. Use gifts sparingly for the very same reason. It just it increases that load time. Okay, subject lines. I know you guys have lots of questions on subject lines, so I just wanted to show you some examples here. So subject lines, 7 words is ideal, do lots of testing, but here's the thing, not to put any pressure on you, but 47% of people read an email based on the subject line alone. So make sure it's compelling. I would say instead of focusing your time on images and graphics, focus your time on the subject line. That's going to get you way better conversions than a graphic ever will. You can use emojis and subject lines. It sort of depends. In some studies, what I've seen, emojis convert better with them. In other studies, it doesn't. I think it kind of just depends on your audience. So you know what? Test it. You can do A/B testing on subject lines. You can do one with and one without and see. And you can even use this tool. It's a free tool from CoSchedule. So write this down, CoSchedule, email subject line tester. Go in there and you could even put in some different subject lines and see what works. But there's generally a few different styles of email subject lines that you can use. You can ask a question. I'm a huge fan of asking questions because I feel like people go, I need to answer that. And so they click through the email. So I personally ask questions a lot in my subject lines. You can use a how-to, like how to make the best chocolate chip cookies. Curiosity is probably my second favorite. Been itching to tell you about this. I've done things like, you won't believe this, ... or have you seen this, ... right? So those types of curiosity type subject lines, I'm a huge fan of, and I find gets amazing conversion rate. A time limit, like just 2 days to get something. An outcome, right? So how to use Instagram to get leads. Here are some things that you don't want to have in your subject line is what I have over here. So unique, sale, fast, free, exclusive, unbelievable. Those are often related to like buying products. And so the email systems out there know that. And so they go, oh, they're selling something. Let's relegate that to the promotions tab or relegate it to the spam folder. Here are some other things here. So airline approved scooter bag, right? They used emojis. 4 tips for cutting sushi at home. Used emojis, looks great. This is what I love about ConvertKit. You'll see on the bottom here, I tested 2 different subject lines and you can see, I mean, the click-through rate on the second one is double what it was with the first one. So the clear winner was overwhelmed by clutter. Check this out. So I did a question and had curiosity on the same subject line with 2 emojis. So just kind of giving you some ideas on how you can do it. Measure and track. Okay, I would highly recommend just measure and track, right? So just get going and see how your emails perform and then go back to see how they did. What was the open rate? 40% is really what you're going to be, is really kind of the ideal. What is the click-through rate? You really want to have 2 to 3% or higher. What was the percentage that was delivered? What was the percentage that unsubscribed? And just like with project broadcast, it's one of those things, like in the beginning, you're like, no, why did they unsubscribe? It's so sad. But just know it's not you, right? It just might be, maybe they were there just to get the lead magnet, and that's okay. They might come back another time. Or maybe it's just the email series just wasn't for them. It's okay. You'll have many more people kind of coming in, but try to keep that unsubscribe rate at 5% or less. The data really is sort of like your insight into seeing what's working and what's not. That's why you want to go back and look and see, okay, you know what, this email had a huge number of click-throughs. What was it? What was the subject? What did I talk about? And you'd be really surprised, the things that you think would perform really well may not. And the things that you're just like, who would care about that? People might love it. So just keep measuring and tracking your results. Okay, some top resources that I would recommend. You can go ahead and screenshot this. Again, all from ConvertKit. One of the reasons why I love them is they just have an amazing resource library. Everything from like setting up a landing page, how to create a newsletter, the benefits of email marketing. I just think they're fabulous. So even if you don't end up using ConvertKit, feel free to go to their resources. They've got a ton of great information, lots of like studies and data, and just what's kind of going on in the industry that I absolutely love. A lot of bloggers, like high profile bloggers, use ConvertKit. So I love that it's kind of a smaller segment versus like a MailChimp where it's like everybody and their grandmother's using it. I feel like they're really kind of targeting like specific people, pretty much like in our industry, right? Like creators, network marketers, bloggers, that's kind of who they're focusing on. Okay, so I know we're a little bit over. Sorry, Silver team, but let me go here. Let me stop the share and see who's got questions. Okay. Does anyone have a burning question? Okay, Tanya, do you always do plain text or do you mix in some emails with graphics? So Tanya, I am probably 80% of the time doing plain text, especially with my email series, the drip series. That's what I do. With my weekly emails, I might put in like one image. And honestly, I've only just recently done that and I'm just kind of testing it. So what I would say is if you want to have in a graphic, just maybe do one and see how it does. Then maybe the next week, take it out and kind of see how it does. So I'm just constantly testing to see what's working, what's not. Questions or facts as subject lines. Yeah, they really work as titles, as subject. Yes, I agree. Curiosity and a question, and bonus, if you can combine the two together, just think about it, right? Like if you were writing an email to a friend, you wouldn't be like 10 facts about blah, 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 blah. Nobody's going to read that, right? It's like, did you check this out? Did you see who's dating who, right? Like that's really what's going to pique your interest to really kind of click through. Okay, let me see. I'm looking at other questions. Yes, Amber, the slides will be available so that you guys can take a look at that. I will post it for you. What other questions do you guys have? I know you guys had very specific questions about email subject lines and emojis, so I hope that the slides helped. Anything else? Honestly, I will tell you, I feel like email is so undervalued. I love social media. I think social media is fantastic. I personally get a little fatigued because I feel like I'm constantly creating new content and I'm not getting the views, where I feel like with email, it is such a great way to capture all that work you've done on social media and like really repurpose it to have some longevity. I mean, if you grabbed content that you had on social media and put it in a drip campaign, it'll like live in perpetuity, right? Like it keeps going and going and going. It's not just a one time where someone just saw it once, on a Thursday. It just kind of keeps going. So Tanya, this is an excellent question. So do I send the same content to everyone on my list? So yes, I do. I was doing segmentation for a little while, but personally, I couldn't keep up with it. I think if I had more help or more content, then I might have done more segmentation. So what that means is, I have a landing page for people who are interested in gluten-free recipes. I have another landing page for decluttering. I have another landing page for essential oils. I pretty much get them all together on my weekly email list where I send them content related to all of them. I know it doesn't really sound like those topics are meshed well together, but for my audience, it does work. You'd be really surprised. So, you never know. You maybe eventually, if maybe you create like a recipe book or something like that, that doesn't have much to do with essential oils, you might be really surprised how much is cross section between the two. I will tell you, I did a decluttering little workbook. And in my decluttering email series, I actually talk about essential oils. I actually talk about the premium starter kit and how you can use that. So it's basically like my decluttering class about the starter kit. And I talk about like, do you have problems letting go? You're going to need stress away, right? Are you going to, as you're going through your closet, right? You might just be overwhelmed with all the laundry. You're going to need some thieves and lemon, right? Like I kind of go through all of those things. And so that's what I personally did. But you can kind of use it for whatever purposes you've got. Jamie, when you start with your email system, is that used as a standalone or does that require you to have a web page? Can it be integrated if you already have some other systems started? Yeah, so you can do either or. So I have a blog on WordPress and I use ConvertKit and have the landing pages and everything, right? And then I link to it. So I sort of like, you can do them together. Like there's integrations for those two. But let's say you don't have a blog or a website, right? You just have an email system. The email system should be able to help you, should be able to create landing pages for you. All of the major email systems that I know have landing page creation tools. If for some reason you needed to create a landing page on Canva, that's always possible too. But yeah, you could actually just use something like a ConvertKit or a Flowdesk. I know Flowdesk has landing pages as well. Do you need a domain for email? You know what? You don't, not necessarily. I would say if you already have a domain, then that would definitely help, just so that it's all kind of well connected. That's a good question. I don't want anyone to think they need to start a blog. I want you to just think about how to leverage your current systems of like prospecting and like gathering and putting them in an email list. You can absolutely just do that. You already put your content somewhere, right? Like probably on social media, maybe you put videos up on YouTube. You can absolutely just use what you already have. Yeah. Any advice on creating an email name? Do you mean like naming a newsletter or do you mean like coming up with a domain? What do you mean by an email name? Like a company? Tell me more. Really, at the end of the day, I think it's you. Your voice, your face, your name is really like the brand, right? Like whatever you use on social media, I would say use that. The email address. So going back to Sherry's question, like if you already have a domain, my domains don't mess with mama, right? So my email is Tracy at don't mess with mama. Like literally that's what they get from me. But maybe you've got, yeah, so Sherry has Playco Essentials, right? So that's what I would put on there is Playco Essentials. That's what I would personally do. I would want to keep the branding very consistent throughout. So they're not like, Sherry at Yahoo, who's that? Like I would try to keep it consistent if you've already got the branding going. I would also say like have a different email address than maybe what you use personally. Otherwise, I think it'll be kind of confusing for people, especially if it's like hot mama at Gmail or something, right? They'll be like, who is this hot mama, right? Like, why are they emailing me? Yeah. I think be consistent with your brand. Okay, tell me who is going to look further into this and work on starting an email. Who's going to be doing it? I would love to hear from you. Who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? You can absolutely do it. I'm telling you, there is just a little bit of an initial setup. Once you do that, it's going to be on autopilot. It'll be so easy. And then your weekly emails, it'll be so quick. Just pull things from Life Steps. They've got such great content. You can even pull stuff from the Young Living Facebook page, the Young Living blog. They have great information. But just make sure you're sending your content out regularly. Yeah, Amber, you have a question?
I do. I feel like, and this could be like you could table me for later, like if this is not me, because I feel like all of the questions that are being asked are well above, like over my head. So I feel like I need a beginner class to go in front of this introductory class. But like, I guess the Convert Kit that you said that we can go and try, like, is that a yearly fee? Is that a monthly fee? And do you recommend like just trying it and it's intuitive enough that it's going to walk you through it? Like, because
Yeah.
I there was so much good information, but like I'm overwhelmed because I don't do anything. I don't do anything like this yet. And so
Yeah.
like just jump in and start, or
Yeah, I would say, so typically the fees are going to be monthly, but ConvertKit is like, it's free for the first 300 subscribers. This is the other thing to keep in mind with other email platforms, like with MailChimp, for instance. If you have the same email address on multiple lists, they count them multiple times. So just kind of like be wary of that. ConvertKit, if you have one person on multiple lists, it's one time. So that's why I like them as well. We're not double counting or triple counting. But yeah, you absolutely could. And they have a lot of good resources too. But what I would say is start out with, okay, I'm going to just go with an email system, go with that, and then just start small. Maybe you're creating your landing page. Then after that, think about what your lead magnet's going to be. You could even skip the drip system for now and maybe create that a little bit later. Have a welcome email so that when someone gets that incentive from you, that lead magnet, they're getting a welcome email. And then you can start just like, start with like a weekly email. You can absolutely do the drip later. I just think at some point, I think it's really smart to do because you're just kind of putting it on autopilot. You're like, they're already warm because they got that lead magnet. Capitalize on it in the very beginning. It's like you're giving them a class right away.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You've got this.
I just wanted to comment, Amber. When we were in Florida, was it already 2 years ago, Tracy? For the convention that wasn't in person yet, we talked about ConvertKit for a long time. And I sat there and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I signed up for the free thing. And I was like, it's too much. I can't do it. It freaked me out. I didn't understand all the things she was saying. Last summer, I was like, I need to do something different. And I signed up with Flowdesk. It was easy because like Tracy said, it's like kind of like drop in. I still haven't done cold market like leads yet, but it's been a great way to reconnect with my team that isn't seeing anything on social media anymore. So I am now going to take that next step and I'm going to look back into ConvertKit now that I get it. It's a lot. So even just start with only doing your team first to get familiar with it and get used to doing it more often. Because when I heard of all the things, I was the same way, Amber, and I still haven't created that cold market lead. That's my goal, you know, by summer to have that going. So even if you're using it to just communicate with your team, it's amazing because I get more responses and feedback than from the texting. So we're all there.
Thank you, Sherry. I think that's such a great point. Like just jump in, whether it's Flowdesk, ConvertKit, MailChimp, not MailChimp, do something else. There's a lot of other ones out. There's MailerLite, there's a lot of different ones, but just jump in there and get started. I agree with Sherry. Even if you're just using it to email your team, that could be a great way to kind of connect with people. I've been still using the virtual office, but I think at some point I'm going to start moving things over and going to ConvertKit because I can't measure anything. I can't test subject lines. I can't see who opened. I don't know how much of it was even delivered or if it was delivered at all. So I think at some point, even for my own team, I'm going to actually be moving over. But I will say for prospecting, I just think it's fabulous. But yeah, just jump in. Yeah, Tanya's saying she uses them too. Awesome. Yeah, and I would say they've got some great resources. I'm super visual, like I need to see step by step how to do this, right? How to do it. But you know what? I think creating a lead magnet, so some kind of, let's just say it's an ebook or a checklist. You guys, this could be great to promote even just to social media, right? Like, hey, want to grab my ebook? It's free. Here you go. But for me personally, I don't like to give things for free. I'm like, I'll give it to you when you sign up for this, right? There's always like a little, you want to dangle that carrot to get them in. But yeah, I think it's great, even if you're starting out with social media, like get that lead magnet created. And I'm telling you, it does not need to be complicated. You know, 10 recipes off the top of your head right now that you could put in a cute little ebook, and Canva's got a ton of templates. You could probably do it in like less than 30 minutes. I promise you. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, well, let me know after this call. I will post the slides for you. If you've got questions, if you want some one-on-one time or just need any help with email, like this is my jam. It's like one of my favorite things to do. I am so happy to help. Feel free to reach out, and we'll have the recording up in just a little bit. But just wanted to say thanks to everybody for joining in. If you're silver and above, stay on. We're going to be doing our silver call. Sorry, we're a little bit late, but thanks everybody for tuning in.